Just a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah.
I mean, of those 1,500 lines, is there a particular sort of scene or segment or line that is really the first kind of go-to for you, the favourite, in a way?
There isn't really any more, you know. The thing that I think about Hamlet is that it's really funny. It's really fun. There's bits in it that are genuinely funny, and if you think of him as a great sort of tragic figure, but a little bit like that hero-villain question, with that K straight question. I think if there's no light in Hamlet, there's no tragedy.
Right.
So if he hasn't got anything to lose, if there isn't a sense that he really loved Ophelia, or they actually had a happy time before his dad died, then you think, well, he's got nothing to really lose in life. It's not really that sad because he was in a lot of pain. So I always like to look for the lightness in that, and so that was one of our ambitions for the play, and also to talk. You know, this was 400 years ago. Talk about mental health. This is a man who was grieving, and human psychology actually hasn't changed in all that time. I believe, and so that's one thing we wanted to sort of bring back, and we wanted to have a sort of young audience, and we really got that. So thank you for everybody who came along to support it. Really meant it.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah. Okay, a question over here.
Hi.
I just wanted to say I loved you in Hamlet, and I was wondering what would be your dream role in theatre and why?
Well, Hamlet was, but that's over now. I would really like to be in a musical, I must say. I just can't sing. I know I can sing a bit, but I have no confidence with singing. So I'd love to be in a sort of a big. The next thing I'd like to do is something a bit lighter, something with a bit of comedy to it. Yeah, I don't really think about. Sometimes I don't think actors are the best judges at what they're good at. You know, so I rely on people. I have a good instinct, sort of, but sometimes I don't really like to plan ahead. Usually you want to do something very different from what you've just done. At the moment I'm doing a film of King Lear with Anthony Hopkins and Emma Thompson and Emily Watson and Jim Broadbent and all these extraordinary people. So it's been a lovely, gentle moving away from Shakespeare. But so.
I think they want you to do Hamilton, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, question.
Anything that begins with Hannah.
Yeah. That's the goal.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey.
If you could compare the role of the Joker to Moriarty, which one would it be out of Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, or Jared Leto?
Which one do I? Which is my favourite?
Yeah.
Which is most comparable to Moriarty?
Oh, which one is most comparable to Moriarty? I haven't seen the Jared Leto one, I'm sorry.
But would you compare the role of Moriarty to the Joker?
Well, as I say, you know, Moriarty was the original villain. So any villain that was written in the 20th century has to have been based on Moriarty. You know, they all were. Everything influences another one, the same way heroes are all based on just other heroes that have been written years ago. So yeah, I would compare them, and I do think there's a sort of playful aspect to all villains. So that's why the Joker is a great villain. So yeah, I suppose I would compare them. I remember seeing Jack Nicholson when it first came out, and he was so scary. I'd love to see Heath Ledger as a genius as well.
Yeah, they probably both listen to Queen, I reckon.
Yeah.
Okay, this side.
Thanks.
Hi.
Hi.
First of all, sorry for bad English. You said before that it's hard for you to watch yourself, but is it weird to hear yourself in different languages, for example, French, German, Italian, dubbed?
Dubbed. It's actually kind of easier because it's not me. But yeah, it's kind of amazing that it happens. It's really amazing. Someone told me he dubbed me in loads of different, the same guy does me in lots of different languages. That's not a very interesting story, is it?
The way we would, in a different language, we would assume your language would be in this other language. Is it weird or is it?
It's a little bit weird, but you know, it's pretty cool as well. People get to see it. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, this slide.
You were brilliant in
What? And what?
in Hamlet. And I was wondering if you were doing Sherlock on the stage, the same BBC Sherlock, if you would approach Moriarty differently, or if it would be the same how you approach.
Oh, if we did a stage version of Sherlock?
Yeah.
You do approach the things very differently. What's unusual about and brilliant about doing a play is that if you mess up or you feel like I haven't quite got that, you have a chance to do it again the next night. And so it's a constant shifting thing where you think, I'm going to do that this night. And so it's constantly evolving. And sometimes, so we filmed Hamlet, and it's going to be on the television, which I'm quite nervous about because there's so many different versions of it. It's still more or less the same, but you play within the parameters of it. And so just having one version of it on the TV makes me go, oh, it feels like the opposite of what actually happens in the theatre. You know, it's just a live experience, and actually part of it, the fun of it is that it's ephemeral and that you're never going to see it. Although I'm thrilled that it's going to be on TV. And there are different takes, you know, you get maybe 3 or 4 takes for every shot and every scene when you're working on film. And for each of those, you try and make it like I try to do a different, have something different in each one. So they're the only really ways that I would vary the work.
I mean, it's interesting as well that obviously there's many huge actors, including Benedict Cumberbatch, that have played Hamlet. So did you ask any actors about approaching the role before you started, when you first got the job, before you started?
No, I didn't, if I'm honest. I mean, I've done a lot of theatre over the years. I've been doing theatre for almost 20 years. And particularly with Hamlet, it's sort of like a jug in which you have to pour in your own personality. So actually you can't really copy. Ben Whishaw is a great pal of mine as well, and I didn't ask Ben either, and I didn't either Ben, and someone else I know has played it. And I think it's really important to just put your own stamp on it. It's nice to talk about it afterwards when you've done it, you know, because it is a huge marathon, and they say that playing Hamlet changes you in some way. And I do feel slightly changed after it. I feel like it's a great honour to have played it, and you have to give so much of yourself, and it's incredibly emotional. It's about grief, so all this stuff, you can't shy away from it. You have to give so much of yourself away, and so I can't really see I can't really, in a way, differentiate between me and Hamlet. You know, I feel like that's. I don't see him as a separate entity to myself at the moment, but maybe that will recede in the coming months.
Okay, another question slide.
My friend wanted to tell you that she loves you more than sandwiches.
Whoa, there's 5 words.
She wanted to wonder what the weirdest thing a fan has said to you when getting excited meeting you.
I found that she said a brilliant thing to me this morning, made me really laugh. I said, "How are you?" She said, "I'm awkward." It's so brilliant. Yesterday, and I thought, well, yeah, we're all awkward. She was sort of like, "I'm awkward." That's a great way of saying it. I thought, good on you.
This gentleman, you want to say something?
Yeah, I've seen videos where celebrities have been to Comic-Cons and they've had to dress up. So like Matt Smith had to wear a Bart Simpson mask at some point. Did you walk around Comic-Con between these past 3 days? Or?
I just today, just on the way over here, I did. I came dressed as myself. Yeah, so.
Wearing a Moriarty mask.
Yeah. I've fashioned this Moriarty mask. You think it's good? Dodgy joke there. Hiya.
Hi. A bit different to your other questions, but going back to earlier with the accents, besides your natural one, what's your favourite one to do, and can you do it now?
Oh, don't make me do that. Accents are really weird. I'm not going to do an accent because it's just literally my worst nightmare.
So do you have a favourite?
Do I have a favourite accent? I suppose the Irish accent is quite similar to an American accent, certain American accents. So I like doing American accents. I love doing accents actually. Just not these really strong lights. Lots of eager faces.
Do you have a question on this side?
Yeah, I was just wondering, I really love Birdland and Seawall, and I was wondering if you were partnering up with Simon Stevens at all, or maybe performing Birdland or Seawall again.
Oh, right. These are plays that I've been in that are by Simon Stevens. And next year is the 10-year anniversary of when we first did Seawall, so I'd love to be able to mark that in some way. I don't know what way that would come, but I'd love to perform it again. The other one, Birdland, I think that's, its time is done. Yeah.
You're partnering up with the director of The Stag again, aren't you? Even is it Handsome Devil?
Devil, yeah.
I guess could describe Moriarty. And so what is that role about?
That's on Netflix at the moment. That's a really cool film actually. It's about two young guys who are growing up in a Dublin school, and one of them is a victim of bullying, and the other one is struggling with his identity, and I play their teacher. Tune in.
Okay, do you want to ask your question this side?
Oh, hello.
Hi there.
This kind of links to that last question. I loved you in The Stag, that film was great.
Thank you.
So I was wondering if you were interested in doing more independent films.
Yeah, definitely. I think they're the things that I suppose just instinctively just lean towards a little bit. I love big movies as well. It's really exciting being on those big sets and everything. But the kind of acting that I like to do, I think is I suppose maybe have more of an independent spirit or whatever that means. So yeah, I would. I have this film called Steel Country that I'm hoping is going to come out within the next 6 months or so. But it's hard for independent films, you know, because these voices really need to be heard. These individual, sort of slightly messed up voices. I think it's really important that they're in the atmosphere as well, because too much mainstream stuff, I don't know, just we need some rebels. So yeah, absolutely, that's something that I'll continue to do as long as I'm alive.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mel.
I mean, how really much of it. I mean, the fact that you were in a Bond film, I mean, that's awesome. And so what was it like, you know, the first day going on a big set like that with Ray Fun?
Scary, very scary. It's just a part of the institution. It's part of, you know, any generation that's alive now will have experienced James Bond in some way. So going on the set, you're an MI5 and all these famous people are around, and it's huge. It's like huge, it's huge budgets and all that kind of stuff. So you don't want to mess up. But again, a lot of the actors in that are theatre people. All of them, Ray from Daniel Craig, Ben Whishaw, Rory Kinnear, and all of them. And Sam Mendes, who directed it, is a theatre director. So he was interested in all that kind of stuff. So it takes a couple of days to kind of calm down. And then you're right.
So it felt like being back in a play then.
Yeah, it's a very expensive play. Yeah.
Next question.
Obviously you played like so many different types of people. I was wondering if there was if you feel more pressure playing certain types of people than others.
Yeah, I think playing the sort of what's the word? Like a more everyman character, in some ways is a little bit more difficult. Playing more extreme characters, they sort of carry you along anyway, but I think there's something really interesting about playing whatever an ordinary person is, but somebody who's just, their own world is no less significant. Like all of us, our world is really important, and just because we're not superheroes or supervillains doesn't mean that our struggles aren't dramatic in some sense. And I think making ordinary people's lives dramatically interesting, is fascinating. And just the little nuances of how we all think or how we all express ourselves. And I always look for interesting writing, because I think we all have an unbelievably unique way of talking. And I hate sort of televisional speak where people say things like, I knew I'd find you here, or I'm just going to do this first, or what are those things that we never actually say in real life, I think people have an extraordinary way of communicating and using language, and great writers are able to write language in a very creative way. A lot of the time in getting their breaks in independent film or in the theatre. So those kind of characters I find exciting, because individual voices are the most exciting, rather than script by committee. Sometimes on big films you have 15 people deciding the way one kind of character is going to speak. And so what happens is they bleed it of all its grit and all its magic, so to make it as accessible for as many people as possible around the world. So actually, it sort of dumbs it down in order so that language doesn't become the chief attribute of the film. The visuals of the film become its big attribute. And sometimes I think that's wonderful, but sometimes I think that's a bit dangerous, because people respond to a really brilliant turn of phrase. Language is very powerful.
I mean, it's one of those things, because certainly when Moriarty meets Euros, there are no words, but you kind of connect on a sort of a higher level.
Euros,
Higher level of cognition almost, like, I don't know what you're saying. So, I mean, how do you do that? How do you go, I'm going to play genius like this?
Yeah, we can't play it. You can't play genius, and you can't play a king or a royal family. You can't play status in a way. Other people have to play status. So say if you play a king, you just play yourself, and it's the way the person, the king's servant or the king's subject, it's how they react to you that creates the idea that this person is a king. It's like it's in the atmosphere. If you walk down the side of this wall once on your own, and then you walk down that wall with 5 security guards around you, people would treat you completely differently, even if you had walked in exactly the same way. So yeah, you can't really play genius. It has to be well written. I think you have to be in some way comfortable with language, and I think you have to have quickness of thought. But with Eurus, again, Shannon Brooke, who plays Eurus, we did a play together in 2006. So I was thrilled that Shannon got that part, because I think she's an incredible actress. And so we were required to just sort of gyrate up against a glass and sort of do all this weird stuff to each other. And so, like a movement class, exactly, and do all these things. And if we didn't know each other, you'd just be basically going, good morning, and then be like, acting is such a weird job. But we had a great laugh doing that. And so we sort of created this thing where they had all this symmetry. And that was really brilliant, because that wasn't really in the script. And that happens just, it's really important on the day to be as inventive as possible and not to be like feeling the pressure. And actually sometimes that's why, when there isn't a great deal of money at risk, on these smaller films, it actually allows people to be a bit more creative, because there aren't a big studio head going, because they're kind of looking at it going, is this weird? Do we like this? Is this weird? Is this good weird? They're sort of, they're tense because they have to make money. That is their chief concern. And so, and with independent films, their chief concern, and of course they want people to see it, but it's to just express themselves. So it's to try and keep an independent spirit in these big films is the big challenge. Yeah.
Okay, so last two questions on this side.
Hello.
Hi there.
My question was, firstly, as you mentioned earlier, Moriarty being the original supervillain, he's kind of influenced all the villains that come after him.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, my brain broke. Oh no, that was it. I basically, I wanted to kind of see how you feel about what makes a really kind of, a really human, three-dimensional, memorable villain.
I don't think villains should be overused. I think what's scary, you know, if anyone ever breaks into your house, or there's CCTV camera on a person, it's the fact that you don't know a lot about them that's scary. If you know something about someone, that's power. You have some sort of power over them because you can second guess them. You can know that person, I would blah blah blah. I do this is how I will. Whereas if you don't know much about somebody, you think, I don't know what's going on in their mind. So if they're elusive in some way, I think that's what makes them most interesting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi.
Hi there.
Firstly, I'm the friend that wanted to say they like you on sandwiches.
What's your favourite sandwich?
BLT.
Which was?
The question that I wanted to ask is, obviously you work with Mark Gatiss, Sherlock.
Yeah.
Would you ever work with him on anything else
No.
he's done?
I'd love to. I'd love to. Mark is so brilliant. He's such a renaissance man, really. I've seen him in the theatre. He writes books. He writes, you know, screenplays and plays, and he's a great actor and a really brilliant human. So yeah, I'd be thrilled to work with him.
Thanks.
But he's not funny.
No one's funny, right?
He's funny. He's Sherlock. No, people are funny, just not Sherlock.
So, obviously we have to wrap it up now, but I did want to know, finally, if you, like Moriarty, had the key to any place, any building, which building would you choose to go in?
You know what? Yesterday, Hayley Atwell told me about the escape rooms. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And we did an escape room yesterday. Do people know what I mean when I say escape rooms?
Yeah.
Oh God, it was amazing.
You did it with Hayley Atwell?
Yeah, me and Hayley did it yesterday, and a couple of other our friends. And it was all about keys. We were locked in a room, and we had to, you know, get keys to get out of the room. Oh my God, I think Hayley's slightly addicted to it. I get why. It's so brilliant. So it's funny you should ask about keys, because I just thought, what an amazing thing that is. If I have to say, I was pretty bad at it. I was intimidated because Hayley was so good at it. Yeah, it's just to get the code for any of those escape rooms, which I'm definitely going to do again.
So you prefer getting the key to get out of the room than the key to get in somewhere?
I'm going to say yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming.